Hello there guys, welcome to another of my live videos, and today I'm just be officially updating you on some more current transfer rumours and gossip. So I think now there's just 1 hour remaining of this current transfer window, but the big breaking news now has just come out from Sky Sports. Inter Milan have officially confirmed the signing of Romelu Lukaku, I think for around 73.9 million with add-ons included in that. Obviously, the news had broke out about this yesterday, saying that Inter Milan's third bid had been accepted by Manchester United, and that because obviously the bid was enough for Manchester United to currently sell Romelu Lukaku. Even though Inter Milan did have two previous bids turned down. They recently had a £68 million bid turned down. They also had a £54 million bid turned down the other week. So it has been made official now that Lukaku is an Inter Milan player. So it's very good that we've got rid of him. It's beneficial for the club, and it's also beneficial for the current player himself. I do believe in the early hours this morning that Lukaku and his agent are jetted off to Italy to currently complete his medical, but now it's just been fully announced, and I do believe it's also Inter Milan's record signing and that. So obviously Antonio Conte now has got his player that he did want in, because obviously he did identify Romelu Lukaku as his number one target, and obviously now Antonio Conte has been a long admirer of the player, because reflecting back a couple of years ago when Antonio Conte was the manager of Chelsea, he wanted Romelu Lukaku at that point. But obviously at that point, he turned down Chelsea and ended up making the move to Manchester United. But obviously now we've got to get in that market and try and find a replacement for Romelu Lukaku. But we've only got like an hour or so now to currently find that current replacement. But yeah, Lukaku's agent, Federico Pastorelli, he was in the UK yesterday, obviously holding negotiations and that with Manchester United. But obviously Lukaku anyway, did confirm that he wanted to leave the football club. Obviously he had been initially fined by Manchester United. I think he'd been fined 2 weeks wages. 2 weeks wages, with his reluctance to return to training on Tuesday, because obviously before his move initially got completed to Inter Milan, he had been training with the Anderlecht reserves, and that's obviously Lukaku's from club and that. And obviously Lukaku didn't even make one appearance throughout pre-season, so obviously that had fueled more speculation. Then he didn't make one appearance throughout pre-season, because according to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, he had been injured and he had sustained some kind of ankle problem. But yeah, very happy about this. And obviously I think also Inter Milan inquired about getting Romelu Lukaku on a 2-year loan at one point, with the obligation to buy. But we did basically make it clear to Inter Milan throughout the course of the summer we wanted to recoup the money, that we did pay for him from Everton a couple of years ago, and that, because we did initially pay £75 million for him. Obviously there were 15 million add-ons included, which did potentially rise it to around £90 million. So we did pay a substantial amount for the player. But the good news is now we've got him off our radar, which is fantastic. So obviously now we've generated a substantial amount for his departure. It also has freed up our wage bill, because like when Lukaku was at the football club, he was on over like 200,000 pounds a week. But anyway, we've got players on big contracts, and Lukaku did still initially have 3 years left on his contract with Manchester United. Obviously Inter Milan had just initially revived their interest anyway, because as reports were emerging out last week, it was looking like Lukaku was going to be on his way to Juventus. But obviously the swap deal had broken down between Romelu Lukaku and Paulo Dybala, and this is when obviously Inter Milan had currently revived their interest. But now he is officially now an Inter Milan player, which is absolutely fantastic in that. And Lukaku, we saw glimpses of how good he was at Manchester United, because there were moments when he did really well. He did spend 2 seasons with the football club. Obviously he scored 42 goals in 96 games in all competitions. Obviously I think he scored 27 goals in his first season in all competitions for Manchester United. So to be fair to him, he was exceptional in his first season, but he didn't really replicate that form, of course, in his second season. He had a couple of good games, last season, and I thought he did really well in the PSG game, scored 2 goals in that game. But like I said, we've got the likes of, Rashford, who's our first choice preference over him. You've got Mason Greenwood, that's upcoming. You've got Chong, and that's upcoming. You've got Martial, you've got Daniel James, and also Lingard in that attacking line. So like I said, it's beneficial, of course, that we have currently offloaded the player. I would have preferred Lukaku, to be quite honest, to have gone to Juventus, because I think, it would have been more beneficial for him to go to Juventus. I think Juventus, would have guaranteed him more success. And if he had gone to Juventus, we would have got probably, Dybala as part of the deal. So that would have been very good. Instead, he's gone to Inter Milan, and obviously, we've generated the funds from his current departure in that. But very happy about that. Romelu Lukaku now has currently left the football club. But obviously now we've got quite a few players in our agenda, who could replace him at Manchester United. But I'm very sceptical now that we are are going to find a current replacement for him. But I did initially say, it was going to be hard for us, to address all the problematic areas in one summer transfer window. I did say it's going to take us a couple of windows, to address all the deficiencies in the squad. We have bought 3 players in, which is very, very good. We spent £148 million on Daniel James, on Wan-Bissaka, and of course on Harry Maguire. But I did say this isn't enough for Manchester United. Obviously, we need to try and build on that. I'm disappointed that we've missed out on a midfielder, because I think that midfield area is one of the pivotal areas, where Manchester United did need to currently strengthen up. Obviously, we've been in for the right winner, for the majority of the summer. But like I said, we haven't currently got right winner in. But there's still deficiencies in the squad that do need to be addressed. Analysing our current squad as it stands at the moment, I do believe it is good enough for the top 4. So I do believe this season our expectations will be to finish in that top 4. Maybe win some silverware and that, because obviously this is what. We've got big ambitions for the future, want to get back to winning trophies, and this is obviously something that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, wants to bring back to the club. He wants to bring that winning mentality and that to the club. Analysing the squad, though, it is good enough, I think, for the top 4 finish. Maybe we may even finish 3rd this season, we may even finish 2nd, but, we're not good enough, to currently win the league at the moment. And as I said, I'm sceptical about Manchester United winning the league. I do believe the next couple of seasons, probably, our aspirations, will be that top 4. But I did say certain players may have reservations about joining Manchester United, because obviously, we're not in Champions League football and that. But throughout the course of the summer, there's been a lot of players on our current agenda. There's been a lot of speculation about players coming in. There's been a lot of speculation, of course, about players departing the football club. Solskjaer, throughout the course of the summer, has been talking about our recruitment policy, and our recruitment policy hasn't been that good, especially in the last couple of windows and that. There's question marks, what Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, what is he going to do with the youth this season? But I do believe this season, more or less everybody will get the chance, the young players, the fringe players, the experienced players, because more or less everybody did get the chance throughout pre-season that. But I'm very, very I'm very sceptical that Man United are going to make another signing before 5 p.m. This season. So I do 5 p.m. this evening. So I do believe our incomings now are done and dusted. I think Harry Maguire is the last bit of business from Manchester United. So I think now we've got to focus on more of the outgoings in that, because I do believe more players need to be sold than Rojo, Lukaku and that. And because these problematic players at the football club, there's big breaking news now coming out in regards to Marcus Rojo as well. I do want to give you an update on. I've only just read about this. So reportedly now, Everton are interested in Marcus Rojo. Reportedly, we've put around £25 million valuation on him. Whether Everton are willing to meet this asking price or not, I do not know. I think it reported out earlier on this week saying that Everton had made a loan offer for Chris Smalling, but Manchester United had currently turned this down. But reporting now Everton are in for Marcus Rojo. But Marcus Rojo is one of the problematic players in the football club. His Manchester United career has been mainly affected with that of injuries he has sustained, because he has sustained quite a few injuries as a Manchester United player. I think he's been here about, 4 or 5 years now, Rojo. I think he's made 73 appearances in the Premier League. He's still got 2 years left on his contract with Manchester United. I think he did well, throughout pre-season. I'll credit him for that. But, he's not the long-term solution for Manchester United's Marcus Rojo, because, maybe we should get rid of him or Smalling or something like that, or maybe even Phil Jones, because obviously now with the arrival of Harry Maguire, I think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is allowing one central defender to go, and I think he is allowing Marcus Rojo to go, because we've got around 7 central defenders now. We've got Harry Maguire that's just come in for the world record fee of £80 million. He's obviously now the most expensive defender in the world. He is going to be wearing that number 5 shirt, which is absolutely fantastic. Actually, Rio Ferdinand had wore that shirt. So we've got Harry Maguire, we've got Smalling, we've got Jones, we've got Lindelof, we've got Alex Tuanzebe, we've got Bay, and we've got a lot of central defenders, with Eric Bay. I think he will be staying at the football club, but I think Solskjaer wants to keep Alex Tuanzebe at the football club, following the serious knee injury that Eric Bay has sustained. Obviously, he's a big doubt for this season. I do believe Eric Bay is out for up to 5 months, I think, because he sustained this knee injury against Tottenham throughout pre-season. Eric Bay is also injury prone, just like Marcus Rojo is. Obviously we got Eric Bay of just over 3 years ago now, is it, from Villarreal back in 2016 and that. But like I said, we've got that experienced centre half in, through Harry Maguire. Obviously we've got that right back that we wanted in, but I'm just very, very disappointed, that we didn't get any new additions in that midfield, because the likes of Bruno Fernandes, he would have been a great addition to the squad. He's been one of our priority targets, throughout the course of the summer. Obviously was recently in for Christian Eriksen, but we're no longer in for him now. Obviously we've been in for Sean Longstaff, throughout the course of the summer, because that midfield really, really does concern me. don't get me wrong, we've still got Paul Pogba. Paul Pogba may not even stay at the football club yet. His future remains uncertain. But don't forget, we've still got until the 2nd of September, to negotiate selling players as well. And so Paul Pogba's got the 2nd of September, to currently make his proposed move to Real Madrid. Don't get me wrong, maybe based on the extortionate amount we've put on Paul Pogba, this club, there's stumbling block of him, making his proposed move away from Manchester United. Obviously, we value Paul Pogba around, 150 million pounds. Obviously, 160 million pounds. Reports were coming out a couple of weeks ago saying that we wanted around 180 million pounds for Paul Pogba. Obviously, that's more than double than what we initially paid for him from Juventus back in 2016 and that. But yeah, he has been relentlessly linked to a move to Real Madrid, and I do believe his first choice preferences, of course, has been Real Madrid. But it's been initially in Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's plans, to actually build a side around Paul Pogba and that. It's been in his plans, to build a side around Paul Pogba. I think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer did say a while back he was considering Paul Pogba for the captaincy this season in a bid, to convince him and that to stay at the football club. But Paul Pogba, 26 years of age, still got a hell of a lot of development in him. And I think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer knows how much of an imperative player that Paul Pogba is. We do know for the majority of his, over 3 years he's been here since he returned from Juventus back in 2016. He has, been very, very inconsistent as Paul Pogba. He did well throughout pre-season. He did well in that 3-month period when Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was the interim manager. But I think he will, get better. Still 2 years left on his contract with an option to extend by further a year. But I did say we needed someone in that midfield, that could go alongside Paul Pogba, because obviously if Paul Pogba does stay at the football, if Paul Pogba does stay at the football club. If he does stay at the football club, and obviously this season he, currently sustains an injury, because he's sustained a couple of injuries as a Manchester United player. I think he's been recently injured as well as Pogba. This is why I don't think he played. This is why I think he didn't play against AC Milan. But, without him in that midfield, where's the creativeness? Do you know what I mean? It looks totally imbalanced without Paul Pogba in that midfield, because who's our other midfielders? I know we've got the likes of McTominay. Hopefully he can have a better season this season, to be fair. We saw glimpses of how good he can be, because he did well throughout pre-season and he's gained a bit more experience. You've got Fred. I'm still very, very sceptical about Fred. Don't get me wrong, I think McTominay, Fred and Pereira and that, they're much better solutions than Matic, because I think Matic is our worst midfielder, because he's too slow, he's too inconsistent, not really good in the air and that. So that midfield, really does concern me. But yeah, like I said, McTominay and Fred, Pereira, hopefully, will improve them in that this season. But we're definitely, looking like now, Manchester United are not, currently going to get a midfielder in. But like I said, 4 players now have left, since Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's arrival. Lukaku's just left the football club. Valencia left the football club at the end of last season. Obviously, Ander Herrera left the football club. Fellaini left the football club, back in the January transfer window. Marcus Rojo could be leaving the football club, so that would be 5 players that have left, since Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's arrival. I haven't read up of what's going on with Matteo Darmian, but I said initially, Matteo Darmian does need to be sold, because Darmian's enjoyed a very, very difficult time in Manchester United. Let's be honest, he hasn't, really being given a chance at the football club as Matteo Darmian. I think we're okay on that left-hand side, though. The left-hand side will look pretty good on that left-hand side, because you've got Luke Shaw, who's a very reliable left-back. He's obviously our first-choice left-back. Was good last season. Obviously, was named double player of the year last season. Was Luke Shaw and all that. And I think his career has been very, very good at Manchester United, and he has still got a lot of development in him. We've also got Daniel James on that left-hand side. I know we've played him on the right a few times, but he can play on the right. But I think he's supposed to be more effective on that left-hand side. My overarching view on Daniel James is there's still improvements needed in his game. He's still a prospect, and he still needs time to develop, does Daniel James. But I think he did really, really well throughout pre-season, and I do believe Daniel James and Wan-Bissaka and Harry Maguire are going to all be given their Premier League debuts this weekend against Chelsea. So the Premier League season now is back, which I'm very, very happy about. I'm very, very happy about. But I think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's got an indication of what team he's going to go with against Chelsea on Sunday. But I have seen the vast improvements in the squad, since pre-season, because I've been analysing the games throughout pre-season. These improvements in Manchester United, maybe we're still struggling to break teams down, maybe that part of the bus and that, well, obviously, as you all know, we're lacking in that midfield. But I think we look better in the attacking third of the pitch, because we have now got that pace in that attacking third of the pitch, and that's something we lacked last season, because we didn't have that pace last season. But now you've got Daniel James with good pace, you've got Martial with good pace, you've got Rashford and that with good pace, and I think actually Martial should be I think the club should concentrate on playing Martial in a central position against Chelsea. I think he should play more centrally overall this season anywhere, because he seems to fulfil that number 9 role really, really well. He stands out in that central position. Martial primarily plays off the left, plays out wide, but I think he's much more effective in that central position. Same with Rashford. He can play out wide, he can play centrally. Rashford, of course, is supposed to be a more effective centrally, but we do look much better now in that attacking further picture. Now, following Lukaku's departure, now he's confirmed as an Inter Milan player. I think obviously now he's going to get more the chances, Mason Greenwood, because Mason Greenwood did well throughout pre-season. He also did very, very well for the reserves last season for Manchester United. Don't forget he scored 30 goals in 29 appearances for the reserves last season. Was our best player in the last game of last season against Cardiff and that. And he's still the upcoming future. He's only 17 years of age, James Greenwood. And we've got the likes of Jesse Lingard in our attacking line. You've got Mata in our attacking line. I did initially say we needed an upgrade to the likes of Lingard and Mata. Lingard's now aging up a bit. You've got Mata now, that's how old is he, 30 or 31 years of age. But like I said, Lingard can play as a number 10. Also, Juan Mata in that can play him as a number 10. So I do believe, certain players, will get their chances playing that number 10 role. Obviously, operates as a number 10 and all that. Towards the back end of last season, Juan Mata was playing in that number 10 quite a few times. Lingard, I think, has played in number 10 quite a few times, throughout pre-season. So analysing our squad, it is good, but it isn't good enough, to win the league as yet. But Solskjaer, was recently talking with Ed Woodward, about the lack of business in this current transfer market and that. And I think, Ed Woodward has been overseeing our transfer business. Obviously he's been working on, getting deals and that over the line. But Solskjaer, give his overall analysis on this transfer window. He gave his overall analysis on this transfer window, and he basically has said, we've got good players in. We need to be patient and all that. But Solskjaer's actual preference was at the end of March was actually to get our transfer business completed by time we initially went out on pre-season. But like I said, Solskjaer worked out his transfer strategy at the end of the season. He did initially say that he wanted to recommend young players to come to Manchester United this summer, that can grow, develop and emulate in superstars. But maybe we overpaid for Harry Maguire. Maybe we did pay a bit too much for him, but it doesn't really matter, because obviously now we've saw Romelu Lukaku. We've obviously generated the majority of the money back from Lukaku's departure of what we currently paid for Harry Maguire in that. So that's actually very, very good business for Manchester United. But my opinions about Harry Maguire, I can't wait to see him play in a Manchester United shirt. I think he's going to do really, really well for the club. He's highly experienced. He shows that ability to play out from the back, does Harry Maguire. He's very, very good in the air. There may be a slight element of concern about him. He's not very fast, but in my opinion, that's not an issue. Harry Maguire's distribution is very, very good. Still, 26 years of age. He's still got a lot of years ahead of him, and he has signed a 6-year contract with the club with an option of a further year. I think he's signed a deal worth up to around 200 grand a week. So I do believe he's more than doubled his wages than what he was currently on at Leicester and that. But I did say we initially had issues defensively for years, and I initially said we didn't have a world-class central defender since we had the likes of Vidic and Ferdinand. But Harry Maguire alongside Lindelof in our back line, I think they're going to blend in very, very well together. With Lindelof, he's improving as a Manchester United player. He did well throughout pre-season. He did well last season in his second season with Manchester United. He didn't really settle in his first season, did Victor Lindelof, but I do believe in his second season he was fantastic, and I think he's flourishing in this Manchester United squad, and I think he's going to do very, very well this season. I think Lindelof himself is excited about the prospects of Harry Maguire playing alongside him and that. But like I said, it's always difficult. Solskjaer did describe it as it's a hard transfer market, is it? It's not always easy to get the players that you want, especially when you're not in a Champions League football. But Solskjaer wants to build a team that can win trophies and that, because we had a great team under Alex Ferguson's generation, and obviously we want this team now. Obviously, we hope this team now can replicate what the team did under Alex Ferguson and that, and obviously Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is following Alex Ferguson's philosophy in that he believes he's following a policy that proved successful under Alex Ferguson. But for me now, we've got to, I think the incomings are over. We've got to go. We'll wait till January then, to focus on the incomings, and obviously the players we've been in for this summer, who obviously Man United didn't get. We'll probably go in for them in January, etc. Bruno Fernandes, maybe Christian Eriksen, maybe Sean Longstaff and that. So I think we'll have to look to go in for them now in January. Of course, with Bruno Fernandes, I don't know what's happening with him at the moment, whether he's staying at Sporting Lisbon or whether he's leaving Sporting Lisbon. But I thought initially, he was leaving Sporting Lisbon and that, and. But like I said, everybody will, should get the chance this season. everybody should currently get the chance this season. But like I said, last season was a huge disappointment. Finished sixth, didn't win any silverware, failed to qualify for the Champions League and that. Obviously, it went well. When Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, got first appointed in as Manchester United manager. Obviously, he came in, was it on 19th of December, following the dismissal of Jose Mourinho. He came in as interim manager for 3 months. Obviously, we won our first 8 games when he was interim manager. We won 14 games out of 19 in all competitions. And then obviously, with how well we was doing in that, Solskjaer got the job permanently, I think, near the end of March. And then obviously, we only won 2 games out of 10. So obviously, then it did initially, go all wrong. But obviously, we've done very, very well in pre-season and that, which is absolutely fantastic. But Solskjaer, he spoke about our ambitions the other week for this season. He believes Manchester United will be aiming for further up than fourth. But Solskjaer did initially say, we're still looking to sign 1 or 2 more players before this window, does currently shut. By the time this video uploads, maybe it will be 5 o'clock, because obviously this is on recording. It does actually take time, to currently upload some videos. But yeah, so some deals have actually, I think, been done today of what I've been reading up in regards to some of the Arsenal's transfer news. I think they're on the verge of getting Kieran Tierney, or if they got Kieran Tierney, I'm not too sure. Obviously, I think they've confirmed the signing of David Luiz for £8 million. Obviously, Arsenal were in desperate need for a central defender. Obviously, they also got Daniel Ceballos early on the window from Real Madrid on loan. They got Nicolas Pepe, I think, last week from Lille. So Arsenal have done a really, really good business in this window. They had a bad start to the window. They only initially got a tight budget. They only got around 40 or 45 million pounds to spend. Did Arsenal? I think there has been now fundamental changes at Arsenal, so I do believe Arsenal now are going to have a better season this season. But they have done a really, really good investment. Tottenham, they're still looking to get at least another player in before this window does shut. They've obviously signed 2 players so far this summer. They smashed their transfer record on Tanguy Ndombele, who of course they paid around £65 million for. Obviously they got not Giovanni Lo Celso, Jack Clark from Leeds, but he's being loaned back to Leeds for this season. They're still working on trying to get Giovanni Lo Celso, because that's been one of Tottenham's main priority targets this summer. So yeah, Chelsea, they can't do any transfer activity in the next couple of windows because they've got a transfer ban and that. Obviously, I think City have confirmed the signing of Joe Cancelo from Juventus. I think anywhere. Liverpool, they invested well in the last couple of windows. I don't think they've made any signings this summer of Liverpool. You've got Juventus in Italy that have done really, really good business. Obviously, they spent an extortionate amount on De Ligt this summer. Obviously they spent an extortionate amount on Ronaldo last summer. They got the likes of Aaron Ramsey and Adrian Rabiot on that. Real Madrid in Spain, they've done really, really good business. They spent over £300 million on players. Was it £300 million on 5 players and that? So they've done good business. I think also Atletico Madrid have done good business. I think we've done pretty good business, to be fair, in this window, Man United, but it just isn't enough. Because like I said, once, when Harry Maguire got officially announced, I did say it's not enough. Still further more investment is needed in the squad and that. And like I said, reflecting back under the Jose Mourinho era last summer, we didn't get our number 1 targets. And last summer, we only got Fred for 50 million. We only got Diego Dalot for 19 or 20 million, and we only got Lee Grant. So it was a huge disappointment last summer. It was disappointing in January because we didn't, couldn't get anyone in that. But analysing it over the last 5 or 6 years, a hell of a lot of money has been spent at Manchester United. Like I said, it got revealed when the signing got confirmed to Harry Maguire. We've spent around £968 million in all the managerial areas since Ferguson's retirement. This is including now, obviously, what we spent under the Ole Gunnar Solskjaer era. Obviously, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is our 4th manager since Alex Ferguson's retirement, because obviously, we've already had 3 managers that have been sacked since Alex Ferguson's retirement and that. So we've just spent just under £1 billion. I did say if Man United were to make another signing, it probably would take it over £1 billion our current spending over the years since Alex Ferguson's retirement. But like I said, we're a massive club. We might have been inconsistent for the last 6 years also, and I don't like the way the football club has been run for the last 6 years also. But like I said, we've had different managers with different philosophies, and the main factor reason why we have been underachieving, because of course we have been currently mismanaged. But we've got a history of spending big on players anywhere. Obviously, we spent big on Harry Maguire this summer. We spent a fair amount on Wan-Bissaka this summer. Obviously, in recent years, we paid 75 million for Lukaku. We paid 89 million pounds for Paul Pogba. back in the Louis van Gaal under Louis van Gaal era, we paid just under £60 million for Di Maria. So yeah, we've got a history of spending big on players, as you all know. But analysing the majority of this squad is not Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. There's only 3 players that are Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. He's still inheriting 11 of Jose Mourinho's players. Obviously, Mourinho spent just under £400 million at the club. Obviously, there's still players here from the Van Gaal era. Some players have now left, from the Van Gaal era, such as Ander Herrera's left the club. Obviously, Di Maria and that currently left the club. Di Maria and that left the club. Obviously, Fellaini left back from the David Moyes era, and that I think we paid around £27 million there, was it, for Fellaini, but he left obviously now in January, and he's still inheriting Mattery from the David Moyes era. Obviously, he's inheriting Martial from the Louis van Gaal era and that. And there's still players here from the Alex Ferguson era. He's still currently inheriting, but Solskjaer's still basically in the process of rebuilding and that, because he's only got 3 players in and that. But like I said, no one will ever follow Alex Ferguson's legacy. We'll never achieve what we achieved under Alex Ferguson. That we'll never be as good. I don't think we'll ever be as good as we was under Alex Ferguson. But I still have a lot of faith in Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. He can get us back, to being to being a competitive elite level football club. So either way, good business for Manchester United. Sanctioning Romelu Lukaku off. It'll be very, very good business if we can also sanction Marcus Rojo off. Because I said in this year we need to sell players because these problematic players in the football club that do currently need to be sold. And obviously, like I said, we have got players on big contracts. It's good that Lukaku's gone as well because it's freed up our wage bill. But you've got Pogba on 290 grand a week. I do believe some players' wages got cut. I think Pogba's initially got cut by 25%, with our failure to qualify for the Champions League. So Paul Pogba's one of the highest players at the club and also the most expensive signing. You've got Rashford, he's on a substantial amount and he's only, 21 years of age. You've got Rashford that's on 200 grand a week, potentially rising up to 300 grand a week, based on the bonuses and that. And Rashford signed this new contract about, 3 weeks ago. Obviously, you got Martial that's on a substantial amount. He signed a 5-year contract back in January. You've got Mata, I think he signed, was it a 2-year contract with an option of a further year? I don't know how much he's on now, I forgot. You've got De Gea, he's agreed a 6-year contract with Manchester United. So it's said, I haven't read up about De Gea lately, but he said he agreed a 6-year contract and it's worth £117 million over 6 years. And I think, if I'm right, I think he's on around 375 grand a week. So we have got big players on big contracts without shadow of a doubt. And for me, the money in football is ridiculous, in my current opinion. A lot of people are saying now, mainly football is about the current money. Yeah, so as I did update you earlier on, we're looking to get a deal over the line for Mario Mandzukic before this window does currently shut. Now, reportedly, we're in talks with Juventus to sign Mario Mandzukic. Now, obviously, a lot of reports were emerging out about this, on Sunday. I think also reports emerged on it early this week, saying that allegedly, Mario Mandzukic had actually agreed to personal terms with Manchester United. He reported said he agreed a 3-year deal worth around 6.2 million a year, which obviously, equates to around 120 grand a week, and it said Mario Mandzukic's wages were set to be increased by 35% and that. So reported said the personal terms and that had currently been agreed. A fee of around £15 million had currently been agreed between Manchester United and Juventus. Reportedly, Maurizio Sarri confirmed that Mario Mandzukic is no longer part of his plans with Juventus, and I think actually Mario Mandzukic agreed, to currently leave Juventus. Because like I said with Juventus, I think they're open to offloading a couple of their players. Obviously, they want to generate funds, they want to free up their wage bill and that because they've got players on big contracts. Like I said, they've done good business this summer. They spent quite a lot of money on Ronaldo last summer. But, now we've identified him as a potential replacement for Romelu Lukaku. It initially said early on this week as well that we'd cooled our interest in Mario Mandzukic due to Dybala, rejecting a transfer to Manchester United. It reportedly said, we had ended our interest in the player. Now, I think the Manchester United board have got some, reservations about, recommending Mario Mandzukic, and obviously reflecting on his age because he's, 33 years of age. He'd probably say he's only got a year or two left in his career as the player. But I think overall he's had a really, really good career as Mario Mandzukic. I think he predominantly plays centrally, but I think he can also play on the left. But I think in the entirety of his career, I think he's scored 188 goals in 476 games for Juventus. I do believe in all competitions for Juventus. I think he scored 44 goals, in 162 appearances in all competitions, and I think he's provided around 24 assists as Mario Mandzukic. But he is now 33 years of age. Obviously, I think he's been at Juventus now over 4 years as a player. I think his aerial power is good. I think his defensive distribution that is really, really good. But reportedly, Manchester United are now in there for him. Obviously, when the swap deal was alive between Dybala and Lukaku, it initially said we wanted Mario Mandzukic and Dybala in a swap, which would have seen Lukaku go to Juventus, and that if that had obviously happened, there probably wouldn't have been a fee involved. This is what it basically said. This is what it basically said and all that. But reportedly says, we were still keen on getting a deal over the line for Mario Mandzukic, even if the Dybala and Lukaku, swap deal, of course, didn't, currently go through in that. So reportedly now, we're in talks with Juventus, so we will currently see what happens with that. But I'm sceptical that he'll come to Manchester United. Obviously, there was a lot of talks going on about Inaki Williams yesterday. There was a lot of talks going on about Inaki Williams yesterday from Atletico Bilbao. I don't think, I think this is just like a panic buy for Manchester United, basically. Obviously, I've never heard of his name, we've never been linked to him, as far as I'm aware of. But obviously, when, the news came out about Romelu Lukaku yesterday, all of a sudden, Inaki Williams' name got mentioned in the media, and it reported said, we're in for him. Reported said, the club are willing to trigger his 8 to 1 million release clause. Well, actually, there's been two variations in regards to his release clause, because actually, a few reports are saying his release clause is 81 million. Some reports are saying his release clause is around 88 million pounds. But either way, it says Man United are willing to trigger his release clause. Some people talk about this player's pace and that, and I think he's got really, really good electrifying pace as this player. I think he has spent the entirety of his career with Bilbao. I think he's 25 years of age. He's still under contract with them until 2025. I do believe he scored 48 goals in 204 first team appearances for Atletico Bilbao. But reportedly said, we've identified him as a replacement for Romelu Lukaku. But to be quite honest with you, don't really know much about the player. But I just don't think he's as good as Rashford, or he's as good as Martial. Even though Rashford and Martial are quite a lot younger than him. Martial's about 2 years younger than him. Rashford's about 4.5 years younger than him and stuff. And you can't even put this. Inaki Williams in their calibre or level. So for me, wouldn't be a good sign for Manchester United in that. But I've heard that his pace is really, really good and he can score goals, as he has demonstrated this for Atletico Bilbao. But reportedly now we've generated the funds from his departure. We'd orchestrate on Lukaku's departure. We'd orchestrate on putting that on Inaki Williams' release clause, because his release clause is around 81 or 88 million pounds. But for me, that's just a panic buy from Manchester United. But this is why I would have preferred Lukaku to go to Juventus. Because if Dybala had agreed to move to Manchester United through that swap deal, we would have got Dybala in return of of Lukaku going to Juventus. So it is a real shame, to be quite honest with you, because I said we need a replacer for Lukaku. Obviously, throughout the course of the summer, there's been talks of Moussa Dembele possibly replacing him. Some Manchester United fans, would have liked Mario Icardi to come as a replacement for Romelu Lukaku and that. But it's looking likely now we're not going to obviously get that current replacement. With the news about Paul Dybala, I think now, according to the BBC, if I'm right, it's just actually said now that Dybala, I think he's going to be remaining at Juventus. Reportedly, he's moved now to Tottenham. He's off because I think they've decided not to sell of Juventus. But reports emerged out a couple of days ago, and obviously it was stemming from Di Marzio and all that. And Di Marzio is a very reliable Italian journalist, and he has proven that he has been reliable throughout the course of the summer. He has reported on various stories. Obviously, he reported on the Harry Maguire story, and obviously that became true because now he's officially a Manchester United player. He must have got the Bruno Fernandes situation wrong, because he said Man United were close to signing Bruno Fernandes the other week and that. But Di Marzio said that Tottenham are basically. Well, he said they've agreed a fee with Juventus for around 70 million euros. 70 million euros equates to around 64 million, just over 64 million in pound sterling and that. And reportedly, Tottenham probably would have to smash their transfer record anyway, to currently get Dybala. And basically, and I did say that like, it was just basically saying what happened with Manchester United. I did say Dybala's wage demand, covered the stumbling block of him, coming to Tottenham and all that. Obviously, I think he was demanding around 300 grand a week from Tottenham was Dybala. I think Tottenham, were willing to meet his wage demands, but he reported said early on today that his Dybala's image rights, were holding up the deal basically. But Tottenham were keen on getting him in because I think Tottenham's priority, is to recommend an attacking midfielder. They want a number 10 because Tottenham are looking for a replacement for Christian Eriksen. But like I said, Man United were in for Dybala last week. Obviously, Dybala's agent had been in London last week. He'd held quite a few talks with Man United. He also held secondary talks with Manchester United and that over the personal terms. But Dybala, of course, was demanding 350 grand a week from the club. And obviously, he was unwilling to meet his current and wage demands. We ended our interest in Dybala basically due to the agent's fees, the wage demands, and also with his reservations by coming to Manchester United. And I think Dybala returned to training early on this week for Juventus. Initially, last week, he'd been withdrawn from training until his transfer saga was resolved. He was withdrawn from training. I think Juventus at one point, forced him to come train and that on his own. But I would have liked to play at Dybala's calibre and level because I did say he's in my top 10 category. And I think if he had come to Manchester United, he would have done really, really well. He'd have brought us them goals that we do currently need. He's only, don't forget, 25 years of age. He would have been a good upgrade to the likes of, Jesse Lingard and Juan Mata and that. And I think he'd have played alongside the likes of Rashford, Martial and Daniel James and that in our attacking line, really, really well with Dybala. But I think he did confirm his actual preference is to remain in Turin. Dybala's still got 3 years left on his contract with Tottenham. He's on around 120 grand a week. So for him, he did say for him to leave Juventus, he wants a current significant pay rise. But Paul Dybala has been at Juventus over 4 years, scored 78 goals in 182 appearances in all competitions. Initially lost his place in the Juventus side last season to obviously, towards Cristiano Ronaldo and that. But I think now Dybala's definitely out of the equation for Manchester United. But I think now he's going to be remaining in Turin. He may move on in the future, but I think, for now he will be remaining at Juventus, will the player. But Tottenham obviously, have been in talks. And Tottenham did initially say they want to try and find an agreement, with the player and his agent, regarding the personal terms. But I do believe based on that, Dybala's extortionate, demands in that, I did initially say that could be the stumbling block of him, leaving Juventus. But for me, he would have been a fantastic replacement for Romelu Lukaku. Obviously, Bruno Fernandes, I don't really know much now of what's going on with Bruno Fernandes. I don't think I've even read recent reports about Bruno Fernandes today. What I've been reading up, it says, Tottenham have agreed a contract with Bruno Fernandes in that. Obviously, as far as I'm aware, no fee has come to an agreement between Tottenham and Sporting Lisbon and that, no fees come to an agreement between Manchester United and Sporting Lisbon. Obviously, Sporting Lisbon are obviously standing firm on their valuation. The president of Sporting Lisbon's confirmed that Sporting Lisbon want around 65 million. Obviously, Tottenham, I think, have already had 3 bids turned down for Bruno Fernandes. I think the recent bid they had turned down was around £60 million. I think they also had bids of 55 and just over £41 million bids turned down for him. But like I said, Bruno Fernandes wants to leave Sporting Lisbon. Obviously he played last Sunday against Benfica, and I think I did initially say that probably will be his farewell appearance and that. Obviously brought down in teas as well, so that fueled more speculation. Obviously last Friday, don't forget, Bruno Fernandes left Sporting Lisbon's training ground, obviously after a meeting, to finalise his transfer exit away from Sporting Lisbon. But he did confirm last week that Tottenham had held several negotiations, with Sporting Lisbon. They travelled out to Portugal to go and meet up with the Sporting Lisbon president, to allegedly, thrash out a deal for Bruno Fernandes in that. But I don't think Tottenham are willing to meet his £65 million valuation. For the majority of the summer, it has been mainly Man United that have been in for Bruno Fernandes. Don't forget. He only confirmed early on this week that we'd held more extensive talks with Bruno Fernandes' agent, and it reportedly said, we'd agreed a 6-year contract with the player worth around £106,000 a week. But Bruno Fernandes' agent, has obviously been to the UK quite a few times. But Bruno Fernandes, 24 years of age, predominantly an attacking midfielder, and I did say he would be the right type of player for Manchester United. Obviously, he's been one of our priority targets throughout the course of the summer. But I did say for the summer, Sporting Lisbon's valuation situation has seemed to be a stumbling block of him, making his proposed move to Manchester United and that. Obviously, I think he did confirm last week his actual preference is Tottenham over Manchester United, like Bruno Fernandes was saying. But I think with our board, had some element of concerns about bringing Bruno Fernandes in anyway. With his lack of experience in the Champions League, hasn't really got the experience of playing to the highest level and that. But Bruno Fernandes' move to Manchester United for the entirety of the summer has not been dependent on, of course, what happens with Paul Pogba. So it's not been dependent on what happens with Paul Pogba. But like I said, I'd say he's out of the equation now. I don't think he's coming to Manchester United, Bruno Fernandes. I think he's still got 4 years left on his contract with Sporting Lisbon. I think his initial release clause is around £88 million and that. But British journalists, came out the other week and, they actually said that Manchester United haven't been interested in Bruno Fernandes all summer. But obviously, that got proven out to be a load of nonsense. A few teams have been in for him, as, the Sporting Lisbon boss give his overarching view on this speculation about Bruno Fernandes. He said clubs have been keen on signing throughout the course of the summer, but it has been, mainly Manchester United that have been in for the player. Only 24 years of age and that. But yeah, I just don't think now he's coming out to Manchester United, which is a huge disappointment. So, like I said, we'll look to do further more investment in January. Sean Longstaff. Obviously, I haven't read much news about him as lately, but with the Sean Longstaff situation, I think he'll probably end up remaining at Newcastle. Obviously, we have been in for him throughout the course of the summer. Steve Bruce got appointed as Newcastle's new manager. Obviously, following the dismissal of Rafa Benitez, I think at the end of June. Steve Bruce believes that Sean Longstaff's future lies with Newcastle. He dismissed speculation of Sean Longstaff, of course, joining Manchester United. He's a good player, is Sean Longstaff, and he's the upcoming future. He's only 21 years of age. He did well in the second half of last season there with Newcastle, but Newcastle the other week indicated out he's not for sale. It said they was demanding in the excess of around £50 million for Sean Longstaff basically. He's primarily central midfielder, so I do believe he's mainly box-to-box midfielder, but it was actually initially in our plans to keep Paul Pogba and bring two midfielders in that can replace obviously Ander Herrera and Mario Fellaini, because obviously Ander Herrera and Mario Fellaini of course both left the football club, but I have got concerns about that midfield for this season. But yeah, looking at it, we have got quite a few players, now that have been long-serving players at the club. Obviously, players have left, of course, who were long-serving players at the club. Smalling and Jones, they've been two long-serving players at the football club. Smalling's been here 9 years, Jones has been here 8 years. Comparing them both, I think Smalling's a much better defender than Phil Jones and that. But I think it's part of our plans for this season is Chris Smalling, to be quite honest with you, because obviously don't forget, we turned a loan bid down there from Everton. But, Chris Smalling and Phil Jones now are two basically, two inconsistent. And I'm glad we've got Harry Maguire in, because Harry Maguire is a good upgrade to the likes of Chris Smalling and Phil Jones. Like I said, Valencia was a long-serving player when he was here. De Gea's been a long-serving here. De Gea's been here 8 years. Obviously, when Ander Herrera was here, he was a long-serving player at the club. Juan Mata has been a long-serving player at Manchester United. You've got Rashford, that's been a United player, since the age of 7. You've got Martial now, I think that's been at Manchester United now over 4 years so there's quite a few long-serving players in the football club and that. But like I said, analysing our current squad at the moment isn't good enough to win the league. We may win some silverware this season, but it won't be with the league. We may even win the FA Cup. Obviously, won the FA Cup back under Louis van Gaal in 2015. Now, I think we may have a chance of winning the Europa League this season. Obviously, Chelsea won the Europa League last season. But yeah, I'm glad Premier League football is currently back. I just want to notify you guys as well. I am going on holiday on the 18th of this month. It is the 18th of this month, and I think I'm going away for about nearly a week. I'm going away for, so I won't be on for 5 or 6 days, because I will be too busy whilst I'm on holiday. So I won't have any time, probably not to do any videos. So as soon as I come back, I will get back to you guys as I always do. So anyway, guys, that's everything to update. If more things now do update now, then I will be straight back on and all that. If it doesn't, I will be back on later on tonight, hopefully. So anyway, guys, drop your comments, likes below on the channel. If you do, consider subscribing as always, and take care. God bless, and I'll see you all again very soon. Thanks for watching.